Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our North Middlesex Council meeting for Wednesday, October the 1st. It is 10 to 6, and I will call this meeting to order. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. If you have any, please forward them through to the clerk. Minutes of the previous meeting from September 17th. Is there any errors or omission or business arising from that? Seeing none, a motion to approve the minutes. Councillor Daigle, Deputy Mayor Hodgins, all in favor? Carried. So I need to have an appointment of the Court of Revision. And the recommended motion is that myself, Deputy Mayor Paul Hodgins, and Councillor Chuck Daigle, Ward 3, be appointed to sit on the Court of Revision for the Grace Lewis drain. Do we have a mover for that? Councillor Irwin, Councillor Daigle. All in favor? Carried. I need a motion to adjourn the regular meeting to go into Court of Revision. Councillor Nerda, Councillor Daigle, all in favor? Carried. The Court of Revision is at 550 for Grace Lewis drain. And Joanne, I believe you're going to take this.
Mayor and members of council, in front of you is the report for the Court of Revision for the Grace Lewis drain. The Court of Revision allows landowners to challenge their drainage assessments through an appeal process quickly and informally. The Court of Revision has one power, and that is to relocate the funds in the drainage assessment schedule. The Court of Revision has no rights to change the project, just the assessments. According to Section 52.1 of the Drainage Act, an owner may appeal to the Court of Revision on any of the following grounds: any lands or roads that has been assessed in the amount that is too high or too low, any lands or roads that should have been assessed and has not been assessed, or due consideration has not been given to the use of the land being made. An appeal notice is due to the municipal clerk 10 days in advance of the date of the court. However, at the first meeting of the court, by resolution, you may agree to hear the appeals that were not filed 10 days prior to the hearing date. To date, there has been no appeals. The proposed motion and staff recommendation is that council receives report DIO 69/2025 regarding the Court of Revision for the Grace Lewis drain for information, and that the Court of Revision confirm the assessment schedules as detailed in the Spreed Assessments Report dated August 12th, 2025 for the Grace Lewis drain, and that a motion be made to accept the assessments.
Thank you, Joanne. Is there any questions from the members of the court? Deputy Mayor Hodgins, no questions? Okay, we have a recommendation in front of you. What is your wish?
I'll move that the assessments be adopted as there was no objections.
Okay, thank you. Moved by Councillor Daigle, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hodgins. All in favor? Three of us. Okay, thank you very much. And our next item is the adjournment of Court of Revision. Councillor Daigle, Deputy Mayor Hodgins, all in favor? Carried. Call to order the regular meeting. Delegations, I believe, is the first item we have. And that is, I'd welcome CAO Paul Shipway, and I will join him at the chair. And I would ask that the Deputy Mayor chair this portion. Don't change the seat, okay? First, I guess I'll open, and I want to thank the council and staff for meeting us here for this. And I don't know if everybody knows, I think you do know everybody here. It is your hometown, but Paul Shipway, I'm proud to present Paul as the CAO for Middlesex County. And thank you for coming, and go ahead and start.
Okay. Thank you very much for having us here. I know we're saying thank you, but when Ryan's the warden and the mayor, it feels like he couldn't say no. So it is great to get out. It's really important for us to get out into the community. And this one is special, coming home to North Middlesex. Spent the day on the agribusiness tour. So it's great to be here, and we do appreciate the time, and thanks to your great staff as well. So if we can go to the next slide, I'm not sure who's moving that. We can skip the agenda. We're excited to be here. The county administratively has gone through a ton of change recently. We have a new CAO. We did a reorganization to divide up a very large portfolio we had into a director of finance position and a director of human services position. And that change was really to take that portfolio and allow finance and human services to each have their own attention and focus on those. It was a super large portfolio for any one person. And really, we're trying to reinvent how we do administration at the county and ask ourselves, how can we be a better partner to local municipalities within Middlesex County? And how can we look at the things and services we do provide at our level and ask ourselves constantly, how can we do this better and why are we doing that? So we're really committed to that. And part of going around and visiting the local municipalities is key in that, because we get to engage on this level. And then also we take away follow-up afterwards and come back with those answers. And I'm pleased to say with North Middlesex, we have an excellent relationship across all levels of staff. So we're pleased to be here today. So some of the highlights of what's going on, we recently updated our strategic plan. I won't go too deep into that, but it was a comprehensive process, a significant amount of engagement, and a joint effort between administration and our council, and came up really with reinvigorating our existing strategic priorities, but economic development. We've done a lot of work where Middlesex County has a large reliance on the residential tax base, where a lot of our comparators maybe have some commercial and industrial. So how can we, in a measured approach, diversify our tax base to continue to increase affordability for all the residents and businesses within Middlesex County? Collaboration and partnerships. We're quite proud of information technology services, ITS, how we deliver those shared services, planning services, procurement services, legal services, and we want to continue exploring ways so that collectively, local and county, we can deliver those services to our communities as effectively as possible. Sustainable infrastructure, we're very proud with our asset management plan. The majority of our infrastructure is almost fully funded across its life cycle, but we want to continue to keep that sustainable and ensure that it's financially effective for all those involved. So we continue to look at ways to modernize that, and just adaptability and agility. Just if you look at planning frameworks, the rules with which we operate in are changing seemingly daily. So we want to ensure that we set up as a county government that we can respond to those changes and be able to address what's going on provincially and federally. So one of the things we're most proud of recently from an economic development perspective is at a recent council meeting, we actually formalized our path forward for economic development, and we'll keep that as an internal department versus establishing a standalone corporation. But we put in place the community improvement support program. And why we like that is because our local municipalities are each unique and choose their own methods in which they will stimulate economic development within their communities. So the community improvement support program takes money at the county level and allows to enhance your local CIP. So what we'll do is we'll cover up to 50% of the local municipal CIP contribution to a max of 25,000. So in theory, we should be able to enhance the number of projects that we're supporting collectively. We can't have a direct to property owner or business owner program. So this allows us to set up our CIP support this way. When we presented it to council, we originally recommended 3 tranches with a cumulative amount of funding of $220,000 per year. We'll deal with that as we go through budget process. But the initial feedback we heard from county council was let's go higher on that. And there's 3 tranches. The existing tranche gets $50,000 a year, the general property revitalization, the industrial and commercial development, and the housing related development. So we're really trying to hit the full sphere as we go forward on that. Correspondence was sent out about that, and we're looking forward to following up with actual funding envelopes once we get through budget process this year, but that'll take effect January 1st. Next, and I know we have our planning staff here who can correct me when I say incorrect things here, but we are in the process of updating OPA number 4, which is really in response to provincial planning changes right after the province approved OPA number 3. I feel like I'm on track right now. And again, we're focused on agriculture, economy, housing, and growth, trying to address those larger economic pressures. So the team submitted a draft to the province in July. That's a legislative requirement, and engagement is ongoing both at an administrative level and the statutory process as we go forward this fall. And we're very hopeful that County Council will consider the adoption of that amendment before year end. The library strategic plan, I'll just touch on as well. We're very proud of our libraries being out integrated in the communities, and they've also updated their strategic plan. And as we go through budget process, they're looking at some newer creative things as well, including a master plan going forward and looking at how we're going to be positioned over the next 25 years in our communities and how we'll continue to deliver those services such as early on and children's services out in the community. Asset management, again, I touched on it before. Obviously, we don't have the breadth of assets that you would have with water and wastewater locally. We mostly focus on roads, bridges, and culverts. And then we have things like some of our facilities and then the MLPS land ambulance fleet. But we now have a comprehensive policy up to date, and we're pleased with how that looks from a funding perspective. And the team has put together some great dashboards. So for those that are really inclined into those details, they can look at our evolution of our bridge condition index and pavement condition index over the years. So that's there and just a fun tool to point out for those who are inclined. This slide is kind of a for me slide. Middlesex County has an immense amount of forests and forest tracts, and they provide great value to the community generally. And we manage those forests through a 20-year forest management plan, and that's being updated this year. So our Woodlands Conservation Officer takes care of that. But council wanted to go one step further with our asset management plan, and we've actually done an assessment to try to quantify the value the forest provide to Middlesex County. So that's actually on the October 7th agenda, and we'll see how council looks at that. But the amount and the value of carbon storage, carbon sequestration, and drainage value that these forests provide is immense. So we're excited to share that and ultimately incorporate that into the asset management plan as we go forward this year. And then last but not least, I guess, we are building a new governance and administration building. Construction is underway. They broke ground earlier this year. It'll be about an 18,000 square foot facility located next to MLPS in London on South Adelaide by the 401 there. It'll be about a third of the size of our existing facility, and it will really enhance accessibility and provide a modern, flexible workspace. There's a project website on that on the county website. And at this point in time, target occupancy is November 2026. So that, I almost forgot. How could I forget? Middlesex County 225. And I know I was out in Elsie Craig when they were doing the first tree giveaway. But 2025 marks the 225th anniversary of Middlesex County. So we're doing lots of celebrations. At the most recent council meeting, we had the results of the coloring contest. And Warden for a Day is out there though. So whoever's interested, that high school students could come spend a day with Warden Ropp and see how things function.
And they're talking about possibly up to 3
Oh, wow.
people doing it.
So all those high school students that are watching North Middlesex Council meetings, we're excited for you to register through a short video essay and get involved. But it's been exciting. The Legislative Services team starts every meeting with some fun facts about Middlesex County and its history. And we're just trying to honor and recognize that as we go forward.
I think that's it. So any questions, Chair? Whatever you like.
Well, first of all, number one, I just want to make a couple comments before I let the council direct some questions at you. But number one, Mr. Paul, congratulations on the coming sure, and I wish you many, many years of success there.
Thank you.
To our mayor and warden, you have represented the municipality of North Middlesex well in the county, and we appreciate that. So I just wanted a little bit of praise your way before they fire the question.
Before they bury it.
Before they bury it. So at this time, I will ask for if there's any questions from any of the council members. Councilor Miller.
Thank you, your worship. Now I have 2 questions. You want me to ask them both or just ask one and wait for a second?
No, ask them both.
Ask them both. Thank you. So my first question deals with our representation in county council. And as you know, there's 7 of us around this horseshoe. We have to get a certain number of signatures every year or every election for nomination. We all have to get extra signatures the last election because obviously our enrollment polls don't cover the county or cover our municipality. And we've lost our seat because it seems we have low enrollment. Now, my understanding is our numbers are up. And what is the plan for getting our second seat back at the county?
Sure. So I'll just speak if I may through you, Mr. Chair. The Middlesex County has a governance bylaw, and how that works is following each municipal election, the clerk of your municipality submits the certified voters list, and we do a count based on that. And then that determines what your seat count would be at the following election. So in theory, after the 2026 election, your voters list would be submitted. It would be assessed against the bylaw, and the number of eligible electors you had would set the number of seats you would have for the 2030 term. That's how things work right now. I would say that on our county council agenda for next Tuesday, there is a request to sort of look at certain things pertaining to governance from one of our local municipalities. So I would say legislatively, there's no way to do that in advance of the 2026 election. And we likely wouldn't want to muddy the waters during an election period to try to confuse something. But I would say, subject to the direction of council, that bylaw may get a look at in 2027, which may change those timelines I've just communicated.
So maybe not this next term of council, but the one after.
Yes, I almost certainly not this term of, certainly not this term of council, because that was set the previous election, but possibly for 2030.
Okay.
And I would add, I've had those conversations with the county clerk as well, seeing about what can be done with that.
Okay. My next question relates to Middlesex County 225th anniversary. And it's, and I'm a little, it always puzzles me why we are the only county in southwestern Ontario or southern Ontario that doesn't have a municipal archives, but we have 225 years of history and records to maintain. And an archive actually is a tool that researchers, the business community, especially the legal community, and others use on a regular basis. Any plans to now revisit the concept of a municipal or county archives?
Go ahead.
Obviously, it's very apparent there's tons of interest within the community for an archives, and Middlesex County has a fairly lengthy history of consideration of Middlesex County archives. At this point in time, there's nothing on the work plan. However, at any given point, a member of county council may introduce a motion to consider that in a more fulsome and formal manner. But at this point in time, there's nothing on the books for further considerations.
I would add to that, I can, Counselor, that it has been looked at county council, and I think Counselor Cornelison was there at that time. And it was thought at that time, council was not interested in putting together a Middlesex County archives. And there was a group that came forward to us, and they didn't really have enough business plan or enough, they didn't bring enough for us to act on. And so who knows what the future will bring, but this time there isn't.
Any further questions from council? Councilor Cornelison.
Thank you, Acting Chair. My question is for either the warden or the CEO, and that has to do with Phragmites control. In driving down along our roads, I see that it seems to be an increasing problem along the roads. Just wondering if the county has any policies or procedures in place to deal with that issue.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so appreciate the heads up on that. We don't have a formalized Phragmites spray program where it would be a multi-pronged, multi-year approach to it. We do have procedures in place when we're mowing or cutting or brushing to try to ensure that that doesn't be transferred over, so cleaning them before we go into new locations, but we don't have a formalized program at this time. We do spot treatments every now and then, but nothing formal. I will say that on the local council tour, this is not the first time we've heard that question, so it is something we're taking back administratively to further assess.
Thank you for that answer. I have a second question as well, and that has to do with your investment in the community improvement support program, specifically affordable housing in that area. And you talk about grants for that. Now, when you talk about affordable housing, for me, the question always is, what is affordable? And then I get us somewhere around 80 or 90% of market value. However, the other part of my question would be, would there be a requirement then that for these new subdivision or these new developments to include a percentage of the development to consist of affordable housing?
Sure, through you, Mr. Chair. For the purposes of the CISP program, it's truly just whatever each local municipality defines that threshold as within their CIP. So it will depend on each local municipality how they would define affordable. And that's kind of the utility of the program. And then I really believe your second question is more a planning question than maybe just a local CAO question. I see we have some planners here, but I would defer to our planners for those requirements within a development.
I'll certainly ask them. Thank you.
Any other further questions from council? Wow, we're letting them off pretty easy. You get off. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming out, Paul. We appreciate you taking some time to come out and visit us out here at North Middlesex.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Again, no further questions from me and just enjoy.
Thank you to
If
council.
you want any lasting remarks.
And thank you, Paul, for coming out tonight and also for going on the agri tour.
Yeah.
It's nice you got to see more of North Middlesex.
Thank you very much. Hope you have a great meeting.
All right, we'll move on with our meeting. We need to adjourn the regular meeting first. Councilor Dago, Councilor Nerda, all in favor? Carried. And going to a public meeting, including Committee of Adjustment. And 11.1 is notice of public meeting to consider application MV 10-2025 located at 35730 McGuire Road. And do we have the applicant here? Would you like to come forward? Okay. Welcome. Okay, whenever you're ready, Ashley.
Perfect. Thank you, Chair Rob. So I have the location map up on the screen there. And as noted, this minor variance is for Kevin Mulder, who owns 35730 McGuire Road, which is located just north of Adair Drive and on the east side of McGuire Road. The lands are approximately 96 acres in size, and they are located in a prime agricultural area with surrounding uses being predominantly agricultural in nature, with 2 rural residential lots located to the south of the lands. The applicant is seeking minimum distance separation 2 setback relief to construct the new hog barn and has required this relief due to the location of the existing municipal drain on the property. They've also pushed back the barn as far as they could in an attempt to meet the MDS setback requirements. However, they're limited in where this can be located due to the location of that municipal drain. The setback required, as confirmed by the agent on the file, is 499 meters or 1,637 feet, whereas 409 meters or 1,342 feet is proposed. And this is just to one neighboring dwelling, which has an address of 35682 McGuire Road and is located just southwest of the proposed barn. So this works out to a difference of 90 meters or about 295 feet. And I would just note that this distance is from the absolute closest point on the neighboring dwelling to the absolute closest point on the proposed barn. Additionally, the 409 meters or 1,342 feet, again, is the absolute minimum distance that would be accepted. To mitigate any concerns from the setback reduction, the applicant has proposed to incorporate a number of best management practices, such as using odor-reducing manure additives, using a covered manure pit, immediately incorporating manure into the soil, and the continued use of cover crops. The position of the barn would also benefit from the prevailing winds in the area, which would carry the odor away from the neighboring dwelling. And there is also existing mature tree cover that surrounds the perimeter of the neighboring dwelling, which will further mitigate any potential odor impacts. So I did just take a site photo showing the existing tree cover there. From a policy perspective, the lands are designated as an agricultural area within the county and North Middlesex official plans, and they are zoned as general agricultural as well. The overarching policies emphasize the importance of strengthening the agricultural community and protecting agriculture from the intrusion of incompatible land uses, which is predominantly identified as non-farm related residential dwellings. The minimum distance separation document is a tool developed by the Ministry of Agriculture that provides guidelines to reduce conflicts between livestock facilities and sensitive land uses. And I would just note that these calculations are a standardized quantitative measurement that factors in the type of livestock, the number of animals, the type of manure storage, and so on, But the document is clear that the measurements do not factor in mitigating factors such as wind direction and prevailing winds, topography, ventilation systems, the presence of trees, berms, or other screening, or best management practices. As such, the MDS document notes that setback distances may be reduced on site-specific circumstances based on these qualitative factors that can be considered. So the application was circulated in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. All comments received prior to the submission of my report are outlined in there. But I would just summarize them by saying that Canada Post, Integris, and Thames Valley District School Board noted no concerns. The chief building official did note that prior to the issuance of a building permit, they will require a copy of the MDS calculations as prepared by the qualified agrologist, and that confirmation shall be provided from the Ministry of Agriculture that they have approved the nutrient management strategy. Regarding the drain, the chief building official and director of infrastructure and operations did note that the applicant will need to work with the drainage superintendent just to confirm they have an appropriate setback there. And the drainage superintendent is willing to work with the applicant. They have noted that they pulled a prior drainage report showing that the maintenance area on the drain is 30 meters along the length, which is normally centered on the tile drain. One letter of opposition was received following the submission of my report, which is from the owners of 35682 McGuire Road, in which the setback relief is requested from. They are concerned that the reduction will disrupt their enjoyment of their home and will make it difficult to sell their home in the future. So staff have taken all comments, policies, and applicable guidelines into consideration and are of the opinion that the variance is considered minor in nature for the reasons outlined in detail in my report. But I would summarize them just by saying that, as I've noted, MDS setbacks are a quantitative measurement in which the ministry guideline does clearly note qualitative factors such as wind direction, the trees and berming on the property, and best management practices can be considered in reductions. In staff's opinion, this variance is minor in nature and it's appropriate for the use of the land considering the additional factors not included in those setback calculations. And ultimately, we have recommended conditions that the owner implements regarding implementing odor mitigation measures, maintaining that tree berm there, not locating the barn any closer than what is approved, and so on and so forth. So as such, staff are recommending the relief be granted with conditions, and the owner is here if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ashley. Is there something you'd like to add at this time?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Just turn your microphone on, please. You got it.
Good evening. I am Kevin Mulder. My wife and I own the farm, 35730 McGuire Road. We recently purchased this farm from my dad and it has been in my family now for what is 3 generations. My goal and reason for applying for this variance is so that the barn can be constructed behind my drive shed, thus allowing me to utilize the driveway and truck turnaround I already have. Physical constraints of my land, that being the municipal drain, as Ashley noted, not only runs through my land, but it snakes through. And it limits me for finding a suitable and financially practical building location. With the letter of opposition coming forward, it was mentioned rules were meant to be followed, whereas minor variances were designed to help with rules that may not fit every mold. Case in point, my municipal drain. However, I'm willing to move construction towards the north, on the north side of my drive shed. Still within the 90 meters of relief being sought, but in hopes of a more out of sight, out of mind approach, with Brent and Lot being taken to mind. Although 90 meters will not make a huge impact on smell, dominant winds will push it east. I hope it can be something to be taken into consideration. I want to assure council and my neighbors that I have no intention of negatively impacting anyone. Locations of my proposed barn were carefully chosen in consultation with my nutrient management consultant and my agronomist, keeping environmental and operational concerns in mind. As a young farmer who is working hard to establish my agricultural operation, I am committed to the responsible use of my land. Agriculture will always be a key pillar in Middlesex County, and unfortunately is becoming increasingly more challenging for new and young farmers like myself to get started, not only financially, but with also so many available acres. I am trying to invest in my future, but more unfortunately, my kids, and add a 4th generation to Middlesex agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You've heard that we do have one written submission. I'm sure you all have seen it. So at this time, I can ask anyone from public if they'd like to speak on this. You'd like to speak on this, sir? Do we have a microphone right here that you can come up to, please? Just give your name and come up and
Hi, my name is Lot Chancellor, and this is my husband, Brent Worth. We live at 35682 McGuire Road. And we're just gonna keep it simple. We just feel like, well, for obvious reasons, we have 5 kids. We love being outside. You know, our house is getting smaller and we were actually considering, listing or looking for a bigger place. So having said that, having a hog barn, situated in the distance that it's, proposed, it's gonna have a significant effect on when we do try to relist it, right? Or list it up for sale. You know, we know that the barn is gonna go up regardless, but it's having it that much closer, it is gonna affect, us being outside and we don't wanna smell, we want to have a good time out there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, I get it. You're looking out for, the future of your kids and whatnot, and we understand that. We're parents as well, but like I said, the rules are in place for a reason, and I just don't understand why you can't just build it, according to the rules. We know that it's gonna go up regardless. We can't stop that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Is there anyone else that'd like to speak on this application? Seeing none, the committee, questions? Councillor Nerda, go ahead and start.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To me, a difference of almost 300 feet is not minor in nature. And secondly, Ashley, you've suggested that this be granted subject to following conditions. The use of an odor reducing additives, a covered manure pit. Now, if we grant this, who's policing this at the applicant and not just to this applicant? If these applications come before us in the future, who's out to police these conditions if the applicants do apply them?
Thank you, through Chair Rob. So the conditions as noted would be required to be met or demonstrated to be met prior to the issuance of a building permit. In terms of long-term policing, you could always recommend that they be implemented through some type of legal agreement. It would become legally enforceable. The onus would be on the municipality to kind of oversee that then.
Thank you, Ashley.
Okay, Councillor Daigle.
Councillor Nerda hit my first question. It's almost a 20% reduction in the setback. Is there a reason other than the drain? Like, is the cost that much more prohibitive to move it to a location that is the full distance?
Yes, so a big one is that if I was to move it based on the municipal tile and go farther east, so closer towards Commons or the neighbor behind me, I would easily, based on topography as well, I would easily be adding an additional $35,000 to $40,000 worth of laneway. And I know to many, that may not seem like a lot, but to me, for my first one, that is a lot.
Okay,
Thank you.
another question? Any other questions? Deputy Mayor Hodgins.
Not so much of a question. Number one, I'm okay. I think in the past, I've seen minor variances granted, even a little bit more than this. And if he can work it with the drainage inspector to make it work in that position, I would like to make the motion that we accept this as a variance as is.
Okay, you're making that a
A
motion?
motion.
Okay, is there a seconder for that? Seconder? Okay, but you're seconding the motion? Okay, second by Councillor Nelson, then go ahead.
Thank you. I'd just like to make a comment to the people who filed a complaint here, and that where I live, I live adjacent to a very, very large hog farm. I think 5,000 fat hogs. And when they clean out their barns, it is bad. I mean, it is bad. The owner himself will tell you it's bad, but I chose to live there. Okay, and I chose to live in the country, knowing that there are livestock operations everywhere. Personally, I don't think that 100 or 300 feet is going to make a significant difference in odor control. I really don't, because when it smells, it smells. And, I choose to stay there or I can leave as well, but I'm choosing to stay because in my view, putting up with that with a bit of an odor is far more easier on my life than putting up with a bad neighbor. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Sorry? You want to make a respond? Okay, come up. If we make it quick, go ahead.
I know it's not a big distance and stuff like that. But I work with farmers my whole life and still do to this day. I deal with hundreds of farmers a year and pig barns and everything. But if we go to put up our house for sale and now there's a pig barn beside us, it will reduce our selling to 30 to 40 grand easily would be off of our property with a hog bar being beside there to buyers. And it would be a pry bar for the buyers. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. And it's tough to, our job isn't to pick between, who's going to pay the extra or who it's going to cost. It's really is what's the appropriate, whether this is appropriate or not. And I think in all respect, to you. Okay. Yep. Thank you. So we do have motion. Is there more discussion on this? I would have one question for Ashley, or maybe for somebody to tell me this odor reducing chemical you put in the pits. Does anybody know? Is it effective?
I will defer that to the farmer because we have had quite a few discussions about different things like that, and he is far more knowledgeable in that area.
Well, I would like to hear from someone, at some point, is it really effective or isn't it? I mean, it's just okay. If there's no other questions, we have a motion in front of us. What's your wish? There is a motion to be in favor of the recommendation. All in favor? Opposed? 3 opposed. It's defeated. So what's your wish, council? Is there another motion? My question is, would council ask staff to go back and work with the applicant to see if there's a way to go change the distance a little bit to come up with a recommendation? You would make a motion? Do you have the motion? Second it? Is discussion on that? I mean, I don't want to just end it off like that as a tide. I think there's an opportunity here still not to make it final, to go back and talk. Go ahead, Councillor.
What is the motion?
Okay, the motion would then read that council direct staff, the planner in consultation with the applicant to determine the effects of the odor mitigating measures, as well as the location of the pig barn to return back to another public meeting.
So in fact, the report came back exactly as it did today. Or the motion to move the barn specifically, or just to discuss it with the applicant?
Thank you, and through you, it's my understanding that council wishes to defer to receive more information.
Correct. To see if there's a way to go closer to the line. Right? In favor of that? See, 4 opposed? Yeah, okay, that's carried. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Our next item is 11.2, and that's notice of public meeting to consider application B15 2025 located at 26951 Coldstream Road. And that's Jane and Steve Wilmsey. Do we have the applicant here? If you'll come up, please. Welcome. Okay, Ashley, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Rob. I would just like to note that their agent, Rita, is online as well. She'll need to be promoted to be able to speak. But yeah, I can get started while that's happening. So as noted, this consent is for a surplus farm dwelling severance at 26951 Coldstream Road, which is located just west of the intersection of Coldstream and Bornish. So I'm just going to zoom in from the full scaled out version of the farm into the proposed severed area. And I would just note here in the location map, when the planner, their agent is referring to outbuilding 2, she's referring to this larger building here. That's incorrectly labeled as outbuilding number 1. And then these structures here are technically grain bins. So the lands are designated as an agricultural area, and they contain hazard lands and woodlands in the North Middlesex official plan. I would just note that those hazard lands and woodlands are not within the severed parcel there. The lands are zoned as general agricultural in the bylaw, and a portion of them are regulated by the Conservation Authority, which is the Asable Bayfield Conservation Authority. But again, those lands are outside of this proposed severed lot. No change of use is proposed within or adjacent to the regulated lands. The applicant is proposing to sever approximately 2.47 acres from the existing 70-acre farm parcel that has a frontage of approximately 83 meters on Coldstream Road. The severed parcel would retain the existing single detached dwelling, 1 existing residential detached garage, and 2 agricultural outbuildings that are proposed to be converted to residential accessory structures. The lands are serviced by a privately owned well and septic system, and there is an existing access to Coldstream Road. The retained parcel would be approximately 67 acres in size, would have a broken frontage of approximately 483 meters on Coldstream Road, and would maintain the existing frontage of approximately 720 meters on Bornish Drive. The retained parcel is proposed to contain agricultural lands and crop production, 1 existing agricultural structure, and a mix of mature trees and vegetation. There is currently no municipal water service, well, or septic on the retained parcel, and the field access would need to be confirmed as a condition. No change of use is proposed to either the severed parcel or the retained parcel as a result of this consent. So the application was circulated in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, and standard conditions for a surplus farm dwelling severance were provided by the agencies that did make comment, as I've outlined in detail in my report. But generally speaking, Canada Post and Integris noted no concerns. County Emergency Services did note that 911 addressing and signage is required to be confirmed and posted in accordance with current standards. The building department commented regarding a septic inspection and septic location confirmation, and the infrastructure and operations department commented regarding what must all be shown on the preliminary survey and their preference for a more rectangular lot shape. The drainage superintendent did also note that a drain reassessment would be required. No comments were submitted by members of the public prior to the submission of this report. So in terms of an analysis, my report goes into detail, and I trust you've all read that before this evening, but I would just note that surplus farm dwelling severances in prime agricultural areas require very specific criteria to be met to qualify for this type of severance, and this stems from the province down to the municipality, with the municipality having the most specific criteria. So not every property can meet the criteria, and therefore not every property is eligible for this type of severance. For this property, staff are satisfied that the proposed severance meets the criteria set, provided that the lot area is reduced as proposed. So the red outline on the map there shows the severed lot as requested by the applicants, and the blue dotted outline shows the recommended reconfiguration by staff. In terms of lot area, in alignment with the provincial planning statement and the Middlesex County official plan, as well as the North Middlesex official plan, these documents all require that the severed parcel only be as large as necessary to accommodate the residential use, on-site water and sanitary disposal facilities, and specifically in North Middlesex should generally be a maximum of 2.47 acres in size. The ultimate goal is to allow farmers to dispose of these residences as they're surplus to the needs of their operation, while also minimizing the lot size being severed off to ensure that agricultural land is preserved for the long term. I would just note that Middlesex County is unique in that all of our lands are classified as prime agricultural lands, which is based on the soil composition. Not every county in Ontario is quite as lucky. Upon review of the lot configuration, staff are of the opinion that the severed parcel should be reduced to a frontage of approximately 70 meters on Coldstream Road and an area of approximately 1.91 acres in size. This reconfiguration would result in a more rectangular lot shape, which is generally preferred in terms of having identifiable lot lines. But more importantly, it would preserve the agricultural lands with the retained parcel. This would also avoid the need to demolish at least 1 existing grain bin and would allow for continued use of an existing driveway for access for existing agricultural structures, which would ultimately save additional agricultural land if they had to be removed from production for the installation of a third driveway. Additionally, staff note that this larger lot configuration is noted as necessary to retain 2 agricultural buildings on the severed parcel that are proposed to be converted to residential accessory structures, as well as due to the location of the existing well. Based on the site visit, in staff's opinion, the smaller outbuilding can reasonably be reclassified as a residential accessory structure and be maintained with the severed parcel, but the large outbuilding could reasonably continue to function agriculturally and is larger than is generally appropriate for a rural residential lot. The original configuration would also take some land from crop production, and I would also just note that in the planning report submitted with the application, it's noted the owner wants to maintain flexibility to potentially pursue a home industry use in the outbuildings in the future. Staff note that this is a permitted use in this zoning. However, there are rules to be met. And then additionally, that while maintaining 2 large accessory structures, we have concerns with potential use of the home industry dominating the residential use. I would just note this is not a set in stone thing with the home industry. It is just a potential use that was mentioned. Otherwise, standard conditions have been recommended, which include but are not limited to that a rezoning be completed, that the drain reassessment be completed, that servicing locations and their condition be confirmed. Typically in these surplus farm dwelling severances, you're going to need a hydro easement, which we will need the surveyor to confirm. That 911 addressing be approved and signage installed, that dwelling habitability be confirmed, and that the old well on site be removed and the driveways disconnected. So as such, I am recommending that the consent be granted, subject to the conditions outlined in my report. And I did attach site photos as well for council to review in advance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. At this time, it's your opportunity. Would you have something you'd like to add? Can you just turn on your microphone, please?
I was gonna let Rita talk first. But yes, we are looking to severance this land for our son. Just because children right now cannot afford to buy a 70-acre farm, he can afford to buy a severance farm. Our dream is to have every one of our kids on a farm. This is one of them.
Okay, thank you. Would you like Rita to speak on
I
this?
would like, yeah.
Okay,
Rita, I'll-
I'm sorry, I missed that. Go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. And thank you to Ms. Sawyer for that very comprehensive overview of our proposal. I want to add that the applicants are in favor of the recommendation for approval of a surplus dwelling. However, they aren't in favor of the recommendation to reconfigure the severed lot. They would like the original proposal, which is within the 2.47 acres specified in the official plan for North Middlesex, to be the approved severance layout for this application. Although the outbuilding in question has potential to be used for agricultural purposes in the future, it's not currently used for agricultural purposes, and neither are the grain bins. We did provide some photos to staff of the interior of the building, so you can see that the interior is really being used for storage purposes. It's not being used for agricultural purposes. The applicants would like to retain the building so that they don't have to, or their son doesn't have to build a brand new building to accommodate any storage uses for a rural residential lot. In terms of other considerations, such as the access area, this property is at an advantage because it is a corner lot, so there is access off Bornish Drive and Coldstream Road. And the applicants have confirmed that they also use Bornish Drive for access. Apparently the drains in the area or the ditches are not that deep. So it's very easy for them to mount those ditches and access the lands. If the committee wants, the applicants are more than willing to put in a third access to serve the agricultural lands, of course, with the approval of your Public Works Department. But they wouldn't need an access area to access any of those existing structures on the farmland. They're just going to be using it for the access of farm implements, so they can easily go over cropland. And I just want to note that for outbuilding number 3, it's that red building that's proposed to be kept with the agricultural lands. There is between the proposed lot line for the severed lands and that building. I know there was potentially some questions regarding that. So there is quite a bit of space. The applicant might know better than I know about the total number of feet between that proposed lot line. But there's also access to that building from both ends and both sides of the building too. So it will not be an issue to get farm implements in and out of that building with that proposed lot line. And also one final thing, the red building that was just on your screen, that's proposed to stay with the severed land of building number 2. That is the location of the pressure tank for the well, and the well is located right next to that building, and the septic system is located just north of that building. So that's why the lot extends a little bit deeper to accommodate that infrastructure. So that's all I have to add. I am available for questions if you have any. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ashley, is there anything you wanted to add after hearing that?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any public comments on this application? Seeing none, committee, questions from the committee? Deputy Mayor Hodgins.
I think first. First of all, I'm glad to see it square. Has been one of my other things that bothered me in the past, so that's positive. She's drawn 2 lines here, the blue one and the red one. The blue one is the one I'm actually looking at. I've concerns, and I have talked to Ashley about this, of it's too close to that second laneway that comes back to the drive shed there on the northeast side. I asked if possibly if that could be narrowed in, and I'm only saying maybe 6 to 8 meters, 6 meters would work. That's 20 feet. Just move it in, gives a little bit more of a buffer in that driveway without being so tight there. You would have to, or I would like to see when a buffer there, a row of trees along there to distinguish the difference in the 2 pieces of property. I am okay with the shed. There. Now you're going on to other things because you can't, I don't like to see 2 driveways for a house. The back part, I can understand the little shed that is at the back end behind the house there, and that's where your water is. I read that. And it is okay where it is, but basically past that, that's where the road would have to end and be blocked off or closed off. Other things to be consistent with in the past, and it's just flat out being consistent with some of the other severances that we have done in the past. Silo has to go and the granaries have to go. We made other people take them down. It would only be fair to ask you to do the same thing. And just to clean that up too. And maybe that's your intention, I know, but the silo should go. So other than that, just to move the line in a little bit, I'm relatively okay with that if that's a goal. Thank you.
Okay, are you talking about the blue line?
The blue line, move it to the northeast in 6 meters. Just thin it up a little bit, which gives a little bit more buffer for that. It's too close to that driveway.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Other comments? Just a minute, we'll get our comments here. Councillor Canellison, then Councillor Daigle.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. I have a couple of questions on it. Actually, your proposal, and perhaps for the applicant as well, the shed number 1, the outbuilding number 1, is that the one we saw the pictures of there in our presentation?
Yes, through Chair Rob. So my proposal is with the blue outline, so it would leave that larger drive shed with the agricultural farmland.
We've done that in other situations. It didn't work out too well. I think Mayor Roth might remember that. I'd like to ask you, the applicant now, your intention is you want to keep the shed to go with the house. Is that correct? And what's the purpose of the shed to go with the house?
Farmland will not be lost in that severance at all. And I farm that land, and for me to have to use that laneway, I think would affect any homeowner in the future. 20 years from now, I think they'd be more comfortable with the farmer having a laneway at the corner of Bornish Coldstream and not bother. And if that farmer wants to build a shed, he's got the area and the land to do it. And if the homeowner in the future wants to build a shed for himself or a business like in the municipality of North Middlesex, he's going to have a difficult time with such a small lots and close to the farmer. So for me, the simplest in the whole thing would be the house and all the outbuildings stays there and farmland is there, and then there's never any issue in future owners owning it. It's cleaner, it's simpler, and I know we have to follow the 2.4 acres. I just think I understand the reasoning for the 2.4 acres, but I just think it's ridiculous in a lot of severances that end up like this. Because you're getting buildings that are close interaction with future owner, future land. You know,
Okay.
it'll work for me for the next 25 years because I'm gonna own the land and my son will own the house, so.
Right, well, you actually addressed my point.
But you've got to look further, I understand.
Specifically, the 20 years from now, if somebody else buys a house and the
Yeah.
drive shed is there,
And I
and it
believe
doesn't go with the house, if it belongs to the
Right.
farm, there's gonna cause, that could be some issues
it
with.
will, because it's so close there. If the
Yeah.
farmers, it just makes more sense to have that shed stay with the house.
Okay,
And that pole shed in the back has access from the farm area.
The
So
whole east side.
from the whole east side, that
And the south
pole
side.
shed is open for access.
is that number 2?
Yeah.
A building 3, I believe that is,
I'll
The
build
pole.
3.
the pole shed.
Okay,
And the thing is, where that red line is allotted, yes, you're not losing any farmland because you could take out that whole row of trees and make that farm. It's the exact same, or you're actually gaining more. So you're just shifting it.
okay. I have one more question for Ashley, and that has to do with decommissioning the well. Am I correct in assuming there's 2 wells on this property? There's one by the house and one by the drive shed, by one of the sheds?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, so through Chair Rob, we did discover that there was a second well, or I did on a site visit there. So one looks to be quite old and decommissioned and kind of sinking into the ground a little bit. So that would need to be decommissioned as a condition of approval.
So again, I'll ask the applicant, in my looking at the pictures, one is the dug well with the donkey pump on it by the house, which I believe the plan would like you to decommission. Is the other a drilled well by the shed?
Yes.
Okay, so there's no risk of anyone falling in that one?
No, it's
Okay.
covered well.
Okay,
Okay? You got, yours is answered? Okay, any other questions? So the recommendation is to follow, if the map's not up, but to follow the red lines or the blue lines. I'm sorry, that is the recommendation. Counselor Canellison.
thank you, Mayor Rob. Mayor Rob, I would make a recommendation to approve the lot as applied for by the applicant.
So the red lines.
Yeah, simply because of the shed.
Okay,
Either else, the shed has to go.
okay, thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Are you seconding that, Counselor Warren? Okay, other questions on that? Yeah, subject to the conditions. Deputy Mayor Hodges.
The deputy mayor just whispered in my ear and he reminded me of another part of the condition of my motion would be to remove the tall silo.
Yeah.
The concrete one.
Okay, so are you adding that to
Yeah.
your motion?
Yeah.
You're
I-
adding that and
I
Counselor,
think the steel ones are okay. I
Okay,
think it's
just-
painted or something.
just a minute, you're adding
Yeah.
that to your motion?
Yes.
And Counselor Irwin, do you agree with that for seconding? Okay. Go ahead, Ashley.
I just want to put forward just a point of clarification, so it's on the record, but the alternate conditions did propose that the one, potentially 2 silos that would be staying with that red property, or sorry, grain bins, do need to be removed. So just, that would be in addition to that silo that's being added right now.
Okay. That's in your motion. Okay, and Counselor Irwin,
Just
a
keep
question on it?
with the conditions of the plan.
Yes. Thank you. Question? No, okay. All in favor of that motion? Okay, that is carried. That is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rita.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
You've made my
Our
day.
next business is 11.3. And that's notice of public meeting to consider application ZBA 3-2023, 39T North Middlesex -2302, 39T NM CDM 2301. Who came up with this? But is that Ashley? Do we have the applicant here? Is the applicant here? Do we have them online? Oh. Sorry, sorry, I'm sorry. This is for, yeah. SBM, it's Paul Endel is coming in this one on Zoom, I believe. Sorry, I got caught up with all the numbers too, and I was like, who did this? Yeah, come forward, sir. Is it the Mazur or what's the correct? Mazur? Okay, thank you very much. So that's the largest numbered one I've seen we've had. That's what threw me off. All right. Go ahead, Ashley, whenever you're ready. Welcome. Go ahead, Ashley.
Thank you, Mayor Ropp. So apologies for that. That is the county's filing system with condominium and subdivision applications.
I'll talk to the county.
You talked to Dirk about it, yep. So the subject applications, as noted, are for a residential plan of subdivision and plan of condominium, as well as their associated zoning bylaw amendment. I would just note that I did write in my report, the zoning file is ZBA 2 2023, but it's actually ZBA 2 2024. So as noted, the subject lands are located on the north side of William Street West, and they're just north and northwest of Union Street and William Street West. They're approximately 4.7 acres in size, and they're currently vacant with areas of mixed vegetation. So the purpose of this evening is strictly to hold a public meeting and give council and members of the public an opportunity to ask questions and seek additional information, as well as provide feedback for consideration by the developer, their consultants, and staff. We will answer any questions where we can this evening, but some may require additional consideration, and I will bring back a recommendation at a future date, as well as any responses to comments that we have received this evening. I would just like to note that a neighborhood public open house was held previously by the developer in early 2024, and those are really just preliminary meetings that the developer holds at the request of the municipality, but not by the municipality, and it's not to be confused with the formal public meeting that we're holding this evening. So the subdivision is proposed to contain 13 single detached residential dwellings on a public road. So on the map just before you, that's the red outlined area. And the condominium is proposed to contain 14 townhouse units on a private road, and that is just the yellow outlined area on the map. So in total, the development will have 27 proposed dwelling units. The subdivision will be accessed by a new public street, which is Street A. So I'm just going to pull up the draft plan here. They're not as pretty to look at as a location map, but it does definitely provide additional details. So the subdivision will be accessed, as I mentioned, by a new public street, which is Street A on the cul-de-sac there, and that's going to connect into Union Street, which is going to be extended. And then the condominium development will be accessed by a private internal roadway. Both public streets are proposed to have a 20-meter right-of-way width, and they'll be designed in accordance with municipal standards. And the zoning bylaw amendment application is to rezone the subdivision lands from, residential density zone 1 to a residential density exception zone, also zone 1. And this is just to recognize a minimum lot frontage of 44.62 feet, whereas typically around 50 feet is required, and a minimum lot area of 420 square meters or 1,377.95 feet. So I would just note that these are the absolute minimums. That doesn't mean that every single lot in this development is going to be that size. We just have to recognize it through a blanket zoning. So additionally, an environmental protection zone will be implemented on the rear of, on the draft plan, what's called Lot 7 and Lot 8. But when you're looking at that location map, it's just the lots that you see the red hatched area go through. And this is just to reflect the findings of the environmental impact study and just to ensure that those area of the lands are protected as recognized. The lot area limits of the natural environment features, were used to determine lot configuration, and a buffer has also been included to provide additional protection and ensure building envelopes will not protrude into that natural environment area. As such, that is where the 0-meter setback from the environmental protection zone is being requested because that buffer has already been built into the recommendation. The application will also rezone the condominium lands from residential density 1 to a residential density 2. No site-specific relief has been noted at this point for those lands. So I did outline in my report in detail all of the applicable policies from the province stemming down to the county and to the municipality. So I'm not going to reiterate them word for word, but I would just summarize them by, as this council is aware, policy direction being clear and emphasizing the importance of providing an appropriate range and mix of housing options and densities by permitting and facilitating all types of residential intensification and introducing new housing options within previously developed areas. And growth and development is encouraged to be directed to fully serviced settlement areas such as Park Hill. The applications have been circulated in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, and I did include a table in my report just going through those comments as well as the attached comments from Bell, Canada Post, Enbridge, and Hydro One. But they are all very standard for development of this nature. And I would just note that we did receive 3 emails with questions, comments, and concerns from 4 neighboring properties. I summarized those comments again in the table in my report, and I actually attached the correspondence as they were received for council's review in advance of this evening. But I would summarize them by saying Larry Bach of 169 Williams Street West noted concerns with the timing of the development, whether there is market demand, how property standards will be enforced if the lands sit vacant and are not maintained, and with construction noise and dust. Mary Norton of 291 Station Street noted concerns with the type of tenure, design, scale, and height of proposed townhomes, would like perimeter fencing added, and would like additional landscaping details to be provided. And Anita Grace, Lay Lagerworth, Josh Lagerworth, and Bruce Lay had questions regarding where the sewer will be connected, where stormwater will be going, how the parcel at the end of Park Hill Richmond Street, owned by Gary Lay, will be accessed. So just if you're looking at the screen there where my mouse is, and concerns with additional traffic, emergency vehicle access, and the condition of the existing road infrastructure. So any additional comments we received during the public meeting and or following the public meeting prior to my making a recommendation to council will be considered and included in that recommendation report at a future date. And that will also include a fulsome analysis by staff. So we're here to receive any feedback this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. At this time, we'll get remarks from the applicant. After that, we'll give the public a chance to speak. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. My name is Paul Hind. I'm a planner with Strict Baldinelli Menez, representing the developer today who's beside me that could also answer any questions. As Ashley, first of all, I'd like to thank Ashley for diligently working with us for a quite long period of time. We've been going back and forth since, well, as indicated, January, even before January, when we had the informal neighborhood public meeting. The studies that came out of as a result of that meeting was not only an EIS, but there was also a slope stability study and a record of site condition phase 1 as well as phase 2 because of concerns with former uses on the property. And there was also a functional servicing report to look at the feasibility of servicing the development. All of those studies have been completed, and Strict Baldinelli Menez and the developers continue to work in consultation to try to incorporate all of the recommendations of the various technical studies that were undertaken to come up with a plan that is being presented at the public meeting before committee to or council today. I do want to just indicate that we're in full agreement with the staff reports that have been prepared. I would just like to make a couple of comments on the 3 written submissions that were received. The plan of subdivision still needs to be formally circulated, and conditions of draft plan approval have to be prepared. One of the conditions of draft plan approval will ultimately be that detailed civil engineering design drawings be submitted to be reviewed and approved ultimately by the municipality. So in terms of where sewers are going to be connected, where stormwater is going to be connected, how traffic is being dealt with, how emergency vehicles are being dealt with, the existing road infrastructure, it's all going to be detailed at a later point in time. We don't have answers right now because we haven't got to the detailed engineering design stage. Similarly, in terms of design, scale, and height of townhouses, well, the height of townhouses will be regulated by the R2 zone. The scale and design will be regulated through site plan approval. And that's another planning process that still needs to go through after we get the rezoning in place and we have the plan of condominium and draft plan of subdivision more detailed reviewed. Noise and dust would be addressed as conditions in the subdivision agreement or the site plan agreement. And in terms of is there a market demand and is there timing for, of this development? I don't know if in my 46 years of planning experience as a consultant working for some of the most major land developers in Ontario, I don't know of any developer that really wants to undertake the cost of development with installing the infrastructure if the houses aren't going to get sold. It's just it's a very concerning issue right now based on the economy, not only just here in North Middlesex, but throughout all of Ontario. And, you know, obviously the developers are really taking a hard look at whether they want to be proceeding or not proceeding. But a lot of the concerns that have been raised are valid concerns, not to be ignored, but it's at a future planning process through detailed engineering design. There's a functional servicing study, but the full servicing study hasn't been done. There's been some preliminary engineering drawings done to show how servicing can be done, but it doesn't have grading and it doesn't have all of the other requirements of a full submission of an engineering submission. We're asking for a special provision in the zoning bylaw. One is, as Ashley had suggested, is that we would ask for a 0 meter setback only on lot 7 and 8, where it abuts the environmental protection zone, because the buffer is already in the environmental protection zone. And in planning, planning consideration, if you have 2 zones on one lot, each zone is deemed to be its own lot. And so we didn't want to have an interior side yard setback on the residential or the development envelope of the residential side of 1.2 meters or 1.5 meters when the buffer is already in the environmental protection zone. So that we were asking for the 0 meter setback in that case. So the other one is that there is one lot there's one lot which didn't meet the minimum frontage and minimum lot area requirement, and it was because of the configuration of the cul-de-sac and trying to create the lots having an appropriate size. It will not impact a development envelope, which is exactly similar to all of the other lots that are proposed in the residential or the subdivision side of it. But it's just because of the blanket front yard setback, we had one lot that didn't meet that criteria. It has the extra depth and is also pie shaped to compensate for it, so.
Okay, thank you. At this time, if there's public comments, we would ask you to come forward, come to the microphone, give your name, please, and sign in, and then we'll.
Like to make one correction though. It's Jason Lagworth, not Josh. Josh happens to be a relative of mine, but he doesn't live at 281 Union Street.
I was going to say you're not Josh. That's
Right. Right.
Go ahead.
My questions and concerns, and I know they haven't had the opportunity to do them yet, but I want to put a stop to it before it happens, because it has happened twice to my wife's family, the Lay family, twice. Once the roadway to Bruce Lay's property was bought behind closed doors when Vivian Gunnis was in Parliament. Bruce and his wife Sharon at that time, back in the 80s, were never contacted. Road allowance was sold, blocked, and landlocked their one lot. Okay. I don't want to see that happen to my wife's uncle, Gary Lay, on the corner lot, right on the corner there, that big corner lot. I want to know what's going to happen to that lot. Is it going to be landlocked? And 2 is for the sewer and the storm water. I want to know where the sewer goes before this is even going. Because Pineview Estates that built the retirement homes beside us, we ran into serious complications with them with the stormwater. They came down, they were going to put the stormwater through my father-in-law's property without question, without concern. Joe Van Bree didn't care to cross another man's property. I refuse to ever see that happen again to my wife's family. Okay. Yes, I am married into the family, but I'm part of the family now. And her name, Anita Grace Lay, is on the properties. So I don't want to see somebody anybody come in and start dictating to another person what they can do with their land and step on another person's land. That's why I want to know what the upgrade is to the sewer. We've spent how much money it's been over the years. Our sewer system, I've heard over the years, is maxed out. Is it? I don't know. I only hear rumors. So where is the sewer going? Where's the stormwater going? Because I'm not going to go through another argument like I did with Joe Van Bree and get the council involved like I had to back then. Okay? I just want everybody to realize if you're going to allow stuff to happen, then everybody needs to be on board. None of this backroom doors closed deals. I don't ever want to see that happen again. Okay?
Okay.
That's all I have to say in that matter, but before it gets approved, I want to know exactly before it is. Where
Okay.
storm and sewer and what happened to Gary Lay's property. Is it going to be landlocked?
Okay, thank you. It, the sewers is a hard one to answer tonight. Can't answer it, but that property that he's talking about being landlocked, do we have an answer to that, Ashley?
Thank you, through Mayor Rob. So currently that property's legal frontage appears to be on Park Hill Richmond Street, and it does not have legal frontage onto Union Street or William Street West based on any records that I have access to. So if that property is being currently accessed from Union or William Street, it's potentially by going through two other private properties to do so. So no, it will not be landlocking it. The legal frontage will be maintained on Park Hill Richmond Street.
So its frontage is on Richmond Street. Okay. Okay, thank you. Sam, go ahead.
Through your worship, just to speak to the questions of sewer, we've been working back and forth with obviously the applicant and their planner and the other engineers that they have on file regarding sewer related stuff. Like Paul mentioned, they have done a functional servicing report. We did flag concerns with sewer issues and things of that nature, which we've worked back and forth with over the last little while here. We're at least satisfied to the point with what they've done with the functional servicing. We're okay with. But we have expressed to the applicant that there are still concerns and things that we want to look at as part of the detailed design, which, as Paul mentioned, when that time comes, we still have it on our radar that that's stuff that we would certainly still look at. As it relates to storm sewer and where the sewers go, without getting into too much technicalities, a lot of it is contained within the Union Street right of way that would then go up and into the development. So sewer work would need to be extended in that regard. As far as stormwater goes, all the design that the applicants and their engineers would have to do would have to comply with our standards, which obviously read that they cannot direct their stormwater onto other people's property. It has to be self-containing. It has to go into their own sewers, etc. So those are details that we would, of course, work through at the time when they do that engineering. But I'll just summarize again by saying that we did share equal concerns that were just brought forward. We've worked back and forth with the applicant on those to the point that we're satisfied for now, but we've still tabled them as things that we're going to keep our eye on going forward as part of the design process.
But I think with what you're saying, that with what they had asked, and I do remember it, not going to happen again. It's not going through there like that again.
Yeah, to your worship, that is correct. And again, like the planner mentioned, obviously they've done high level engineering at this point, but there's still a lot more process to go through before we're breaking ground and building anything. And those are certainly things that we'll be looking at.
Fair enough. Thank you. So other comments from the public, come on up to the microphone, please.
Mayor, Mr. Mayor, the only thing is, the main sewer line does run through that entire back stretch of our property. That's one of the concerns I had about Gary Lay's property, because the main trunk to that sewer to the pumping station runs straight back through Gary's property. So that's why I'm wondering, are they gonna go back straight to the west to tie that?
And
That's where I'm concerned.
okay, and that's a concern that you're bringing forward for us to know.
Right of way through that area.
Okay,
the town has.
This is Bruce Lane, my fault.
yep.
There is right of ways purchased over the years for that main sewer line. What I want to talk about is my brother's property. One reason. That's a large lot, and you're saying, yes, it has access on Richmond Street, but that originally was two lots, two separate lots.
The creek divides.
It was-
Cameron Gilly Street.
Yeah, there is two lots. And so what I'm talking about is, if that was developed, it should be developed as two lots. Now, maybe down over the years, they said, oh, we're just gonna charge you for a single lot area. But it's two lots when my father bought that property years ago. So I don't know how it got changed, but it is two lots. So that would give Gary access
The frontage.
on their, if they decide to build back there, that would give him access with that round circular
Cul-de-sac.
cul-de-sac on the corner of his property. Or if somebody wanted to buy a lot there, they might want to buy his lot as an add-on to their property on the back two lots that are designated there. And and the other thing I want to know is my brother should look into the fact that he might be able to build a small house like I did on that red checkered area on the corner up by that. And that would be his decision. And I think he should look into it. And the town should be, or the municipality should be able to say you can't, or it is allowed, just like I was able to allow
That's what we.
a house on my property. And I went through the conservation and the municipality and the building inspector, and I was able to build a house there. And I think he could build a house there as well, or maybe he could buy one of those other lots to add on to that area. But that's his decision. And I have concerns about how the sewers should hook up and the drainage. Now, his property, Gary's property, is open there if he wanted to sell it. His property to give access to their sewer system, that would be his decision. And he's got to make a decision on that stuff. These are some of my concerns.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, and we're showing it as one lot, though. What he's saying is two lots. We show as one. Okay. Okay, maybe that's something we can check is what's changed. Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you, Bruce. Go ahead, Ashley.
Thank you through Chair Rob. So I would just add that we as the municipality and county can't comment on legal status of parcels. They would have to retain their own lawyer to do that. And then just in terms of whether something could be built there, the red hatched area, which is almost the entirety of the property, means that it's regulated by the Conservation Authority. And so I really can't comment on something like that until we talk to the Conservation Authority first.
Oh, I understand that. Thank you. But I think points were made about where the sewer is going and the stormwater drain. So, okay, is there any other public want to speak on this application? Seeing none. Council, your opportunity? Questions? Councilor Ellison?
Thank you, Mayor. My question is for the applicant. All these proposed units, are they to be for sale or is some of them going to be rentals?
So the condominium side on the right-hand side, which is the townhouses, will be rentals. And the left-hand side, which is shown on the red, will be individual, pretty much single dwellings.
And will any of these units be considered affordable rental units or housing?
So the rental units, we are leaning more towards more affordability rentals for old age rentals, somewhat similar to what is across William Street. The single housing will be custom built, and we're more leaning towards, and that's what I mentioned during the public meeting last year, is that we're gonna try to stick with custom builds, bungalows, similar style to what you see in the nature of this area here.
Okay, what's your timeline to begin and the timeline to finish this whole project?
So it really all depends on the approval stage that we have to go through. So we have been going back and forth. And the major issue that we have across from us is the capacity within the sewers and whatnot. We're more leaning towards on, if we have the approvals, we are going to probably start right away on the right-hand side, which is the condominium townhouses for rentals. And then to follow would be the other side, pretty much.
And so when would the finish line be, the completion date?
Market.
Again, it's all tied up to,
No, I understand.
once I have the approval, we're planning to start right away.
From the time you got approval, what's the timeline? Because sometimes these developments can sit for many, many months idle with nothing happening. So that's my question. Once you begin, will you see it to completion quickly?
There's a number of developers in Ontario that land bank, and this particular case, this is not a land banking. There's been significant outlay of costs to date to get to where we are right now. And the cost of land purchase, taking that into consideration, I believe my client wants to go as fast as he can humanly go to get some revenue coming in to replace the expenditures that
Okay, thank you.
getting.
Go ahead.
Through your worship to the counselor, I'll just ask, which might support the question a bit there. In the way of when the agreement eventually comes and provisions that we'll have within it, especially as it relates to capacity and servicing, with the way the municipality's allocation goes, we will have lots of conditions and dates in there in the way of when the capacity is available for them to keep it if they're building. So that'll be covered by conditions that we have, that whatever capacity does get eventually allocated by council, if and when that happens, if they want to keep it, they'll have to meet those timelines that are set by council at that time.
Very well. Then the final part of my question then is maintaining the property in a tidy fashion. As you know, we have other developments in our community that are not properly maintained, and we have a number of weeds and whatnot happening there, which impacts on the people who are currently living there. Will that be a condition as well, that the property needs to be maintained in an orderly fashion?
Go ahead.
Through your worship to the counselor, yes, those are conditions that would be in there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, other questions from council? Yeah, I understand. Councilor Irwin.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is for the public. The motion is received for information and report brought back at a future date. Just to inform the public, what would that date be? And how would that report look, so they have a sense of what's coming next?
Thank you, through Chair Rob. So ideally, probably at the next planning meeting, which is a month from now. That just depends on a variety of factors, such as our director at the county reviewing draft conditions, supporting it, that sort of thing, as well as receiving a comment response matrix from the applicants regarding how all these comments have been addressed. So yes, in my recommendation report, I do include a comment response matrix. We certainly address things that we reasonably can. And then just to note, this is just draft approval. There are a lot of items that will be worked out as a condition of draft approval, similar to how you do a severance. You have to fulfill your conditions before you get across that finish line. So I hope that answers your questions.
Okay, thank you. I do see your hand up, sir. We have done our public consultation, but I'm going to allow you to come up and speak. If you can be brief, please.
Hi everyone, my name is Bara. I'm the owner of Masar Development. To your question, when we're gonna start, so we are waiting for the approval. After the approval, we're gonna start to do the development in the winter. After we finish the development, we're gonna start right away. So I'm planning, if we get the approval, let's say a couple of months from now, we're gonna start in the winter to do the development, and I will try my best to start in March or April, and we'll try to finish phase number 1, let's say in 8 months or less.
And phase number 2.
Sorry.
And what about phase number 2?
If we give us the approval, we can do phase 1 and phase 2, and we'll put the houses in market. If we get sell, we're gonna build it and sell it right away. So we're gonna put it in sale. If we get sales, we're gonna build it and finish it as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, if there's no other questions from council, we have a recommendation and we are receiving this for information tonight at this time. Moved by Councilor Nerda, seconded by Councilor Irwin. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Our next item is item number 11-4. Notice of public meeting to consider application ZBA 14-2025 located at 4622 Asable Drive. And do we have our applicants here? Come forward, please. Okay, Ashley, when you're ready.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. So I do just have Abby pulling up the map here for the report. Sure, sorry, just a moment. Mhm. Just to join in screen share. She's just gonna join in screen share. So the property address is 4622 Asable Drive. So it's located on the north side of Asable Drive, just east of Brinsley Road. And the proposal before council tonight is for a temporary use zoning bylaw amendment, and that is to rezone a portion of the subject lands that are currently zoned as general agricultural to permit for the establishment of one additional residential unit that is detached from the existing single detached dwelling. So the lands are regulated by the Conservation Authority, and there is an environmental protection area on the lands, and there also is woodlands classified as significant woodlands under the county official plan. But I would just note that the proposed development is not going to be within those areas. It will be outside of the regulated area. The Conservation Authority and agencies circulated the application have noted no concerns. And from a staff perspective, we are supportive of going this route. Essentially, doing a temporary use zoning bylaw is an interim solution until we have our county official plan up to date and then subsequently our North Middlesex official plan. So this would allow them to get started sooner than waiting for those documents to be up to date. It would permit it for a maximum time of 3 years. Upon which time that will either expire, could be renewed, or ideally at that point will be transitioned to a permanent structure because our policies will be up to date. Just doing the temporary use zoning bylaw amendment, I would note, doesn't guarantee that it's going to be approved as a permanent structure in the future, but I certainly hope that transition regulations are included in our county OP and our North Middlesex OP, just for structures like these. It's certainly not unique in the county. So my recommendation is that the bylaw be received and read for first, second, and third time this evening, as well as that staff be directed into entering into that temporary use agreement with the landowners, which requires $1,000 security deposit that's refundable either once this is transitioned to permanent or once it's removed, and that we go from there. And I'm here if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ashley. This time, will you have comments from the applicant?
Yeah, my name's Jade Balsover and my husband Craig and I are the owners of the property. I'll just give a little bit of really quick context on why we're asking for this change. Our parents have recently retired and they really enjoy spending time on our property. So they would like to move up to be closer to us so that we can kind of support them through their retirement years. They are, however, still quite young, so they would really like to maintain their independence and have a separate dwelling so that we can all have our own privacy, but they can still enjoy the property, of course. So I guess that's pretty much it. Just wanted to provide a little bit of context for why we're asking for the change.
Okay, thank you. I don't think there's any comment from the public. I mean, it would be your parents if they're going to reject it. So at this time, council, questions from council? Councilor Knudsen.
Yes, actually, just to, and my memory serves me correctly, I thought that a short time ago, we approved an additional residential unit that was on a permanent basis because for farm labor. Am I correct on that?
Yes, through Chair Rob. So farm labor is classified in the provincial planning statement as an agricultural use. So they're not necessarily considered as a detached additional residential unit. So that's how we were able to classify that. And yes, there is a lot of layers to
Thank
it.
you. That's about as clear as mine. Thank you so much.
Is there any other questions? Councilor Irwin.
Move the recommendation, your worship.
Moved by Councilor Irwin, seconded by Councilor Nerda. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, we got a notice of public meeting to consider, oh, sorry, this Abby, this is yours, correct? Notice of public meeting, consider the North Middlesex OPA 17-2025 municipally initiated housekeeping official plan amendment. Abby, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Roth. Through you to members of council. The purpose of this report is to provide council and members of the public with information on the municipally initiated housekeeping official plan amendment and hold the public meeting. This public meeting will provide council and the public an opportunity to ask questions and seek additional information, as well as provide feedback for consideration. A recommendation report will be brought back before council at a future date. And all feedback from the public meeting that has been received will be taken into consideration. The purpose of the proposed OPA is to implement key commitments under the Housing Accelerator Fund, to update the official plan to support a greater range and mix of housing options, specifically additional residential units. It also aligns some of our policies with the Provincial Planning Statement 2024, the Planning Act, as well as the County of Middlesex official plan. The effect of the proposed OPA is to incorporate enabling policies that would end exclusionary zoning by allowing a wider variety of housing options in residential areas. This would be implemented through a future zoning bylaw amendment that should come before council within the next couple of months by the consultants who were here previously in the spring. This OPA would also remove unnecessary restrictions to speed up housing delivery, establish implementation guidelines to integrate ARUs in ways that respect neighborhood character, and to permit 4 units as of right in fully serviced settlement areas. So this would include 1 principal unit and then 3 additional residential units. In terms of a little bit of background, as you are all aware, the Housing Accelerator Fund is a federal program that is being administered through CMHC. The application that was submitted by the municipality commits to housing targets, as well as policy and regulatory changes, which were outlined previously in a report to council dated September 4th, 2024. The municipality's action plan identified expanded ARU permissions as a priority. And this was also supported by the 2023 housing needs assessment that the municipality was required to submit with their Housing Accelerator Fund application. In terms of policy alignment, the Planning Act through Bill 23 requires municipalities to permit up to 2 ARUs as of right in fully serviced settlement areas. The provincial planning statement directs municipalities to provide a broad range of housing options, including ARUs, and also support intensification. The County of Middlesex official plan permits 3 residential units in service settlement areas and agricultural areas, but does not provide a maximum. And then the North Middlesex official plan, which is a bit outdated, only permits 1 accessory dwelling or garden suite that is established by way of a temporary use bylaw. So in all, the amendment as proposed would bring local policies into conformity with the province and county. However, taking this a step further by allowing up to 3 ARUs in addition to the principal unit, which technically exceeds provincial minimums, but reflects the half best practices, which were captured through the municipality's Housing Accelerator Fund application. The amendment also updates policies for garden suites, tiny homes, and mobile homes to match the county policy. It revises the site plan control policies to reflect Planning Act changes again through Bill 23 that exempt residential developments of 10 or less units from the site plan approvals process. All of which create more affordable and flexible housing options, including for multi-generational living, as well as increasing the municipality's rental stock, which is positive sometimes for homeowners who are trying to get into the housing market. They're able to supplement their income, mortgage approvals, etc. This also makes better use of existing land and infrastructure. It reduces the need for site-specific approvals, which will save time for both residents and staff. And it also ensures that local policies reflect provincial and county directions while also meeting our half commitments. In terms of public or agency comments, there were none received prior to the preparation of my report. In terms of next steps, a more fulsome analysis and the full official plan amendment will be brought back before council for consideration at a future date. Once all comments provided at the public meeting and all agency comments, when were received, have been considered. And then just a little verbal update for council. So this amendment is strictly a housekeeping amendment. It's quite scoped. Council should expect broader changes to the official plan through the ongoing official plan review. Next steps for that process will include some discussion papers that will be brought before council, hopefully by year end. And then a red line version of the full North Middlesex official plan to come forward in the late winter, early spring after the county adopts its updated official plan. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thanks, Abby. Questions for Abby? Councilor Canellison.
We cannot ignore that good presentation. We have to ask a question. We just have to. In one of the presentations here this afternoon or this evening, whatever, I noticed that we talked about surplus farm severances as still dated in 1999, but I thought we were on a sliding scale of 10 years old. Has that not been adopted by the county as yet?
Thank you for the question through the chair. So that is currently in the county official plan, but because it's in the North Middlesex official plan, technically we are required to adhere to that policy still. So that is something that will be absolutely updated through the official plan review process.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions? No other questions for Abby at this time? We have a recommendation that we receive this report for information. Moved by Councilor Daigle, Councilor Nerda, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you. At this time, I need to adjourn the public meeting, including Committee of Adjustment. Moved by Councilor Daigle, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hodgins. All in favor? Carried. And department reports. Ashley, you have the first one.
Thank you, Mayor Ropp. So I will keep this short and sweet because you're probably sick of hearing about planning stuff now. But simply put, at the last planning council meeting, I brought forward a housekeeping amendment just to update our bylaw and make it more consistent and easier to interpret for everyone, from building officials to the public and to staff. So ultimately, we received positive feedback from members of council. We to date have not received any issues or concerns from members of the public or from circulated agencies. And so my recommendation is that we move forward with the draft bylaw that I presented this evening for the first, second, and third and final reading. And those changes are predominantly around accessory structure height, lot frontage and area being deemed to comply, hold removal verbiage, and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Ashley on that? Councilor Canellison.
This is a serious question. I've had a lot of calls on this. And I'm talking about the removal of storage container sea cans in the central zone. Now, is that all of Main Street of our urban areas or just in the commercial part of our urban areas?
Through Chair Ropp, so currently they are permitted in very specific zones, predominantly industrial and hamlet commercial and that sort of area. They're not presently permitted in a residential zone at all. And even if they are permitted in those zones, there are a lot of setback and screening requirements that have to be met. So this change is really just to remove them from being permitted as of right in the central commercial zones that are our downtown main streets.
Okay, any other questions? No, we have a recommendation in front of us. Councilor Daigle, Councilor Nerda, all in favor? Carried. Our next up, thank you, Ashley. Thanks, Abby. Our next up, Joanne, report from the Drainage Superintendent on DIO 70-2025 award tender for Grace Lewis Drain.
Mayor and members of council, in front of you is a report for the tender results and award contract for the Grace Lewis Drain. The lowest bid was from Robinson Farm Drainage Limited in the amount of $76,650 excluding HST. The engineer's estimate was $104,600 excluding HST. The required completion date is December 19th, 2025. The proposed motion and staff recommendation is that council receives report DIO 70-2025 regarding a municipal drain tender award, Grace Lewis Drain, for information, and that council directs staff to award the tender contract IO 19-2025 for the Grace Lewis Drain to Robinson Farm Drainage Limited in the amount of $76,650 excluding HST.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Joanne on this? Seeing none, a motion to approve. Deputy Mayor Hodgins, seconded by Councilor Nerda. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And Joanne, I believe you have the next one as well. That's 13.3. Report from the Drainage Superintendent. Petition received new municipal drain, Ken Valley Farms Limited. Go ahead.
Mayor and members of council, staff received a petition for drainage works by owners under section 4.1 of the Drainage Act from Ken Valley Farms Limited for a new municipal drain on concession 14, lot 12 of former West Williams Township. The open ditch is proposed to run across part of the back of the farm and continue along Roddick Road ditch. The ditch crosses Roddick Road and Coldstream Road and continues north. The owner is requesting this ditch to become a municipal drain for ease of maintenance and assessments. So the proposed motion and staff recommendation is that council receives report DIO 71-2025 regarding the petition received for the new municipal drain from Ken Valley Farms Limited according to section 4.1 of the Drainage Act for information, and that council receive the petition for drainage works by owners for a new municipal drain from Ken Valley Farms Limited according to section 4.1 of the Drainage Act, and that council appoints R. Dobbin Engineering Incorporated as engineer to the project.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Joanne on this?
Yes, I
Councilor
do.
Canellison.
Thank you. Joanne, is this is that open ditch that runs along the road, across a part of the farm, along the road and ends up, I thought, is it close to Elkinfield Road that it ends? I can't recall correctly.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I can't hear the.
That's okay. This is an open ditch that runs along Roddick Road, correct?
Yes, through the mayor. Yes, that is correct.
Is that a private drain now, or is that a municipal drain, or is that just a ditch? What is it currently if it's not a municipal drain?
Through the mayor. Currently, right now, it's just a roadside ditch.
Oh, it's a very deep roadside ditch, is it not?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Do you have a question?
Yes.
Go ahead, Councilor Daigle.
For our director. Does that mean you can't work on it again? Like it has to always go through a drain report because it's a roadside ditch, right?
Go ahead, Sam.
Through your worship to the councillor, if the ditch would end up forming part of the drain, then yes, it would have to be worked on as part of the drain. If it remains independent, we would still be able to work on it.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, we have a recommendation in front of us. Moved by Councilor Canellison. Seconded by Councilor Daigle. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Joanne. The next item is report for Director of Infrastructure and Operations, Park Hill Lagoon bylaw repeal. Sam.
Thank you, your worship, and to you and the members of council. Before you this evening is report DIO 68 of 2025, which recommends the repeal of bylaw number 64 of 2024, which was titled the Park Hill Wastewater Sludge Removal Charge. This bylaw was originally enacted to recover capital costs associated with the Park Hill Lagoon desludging project through fees that were to be applied to new developments within the Park Hill wastewater servicing area. Since that time, the municipality has successfully secured significant external funding, primarily through the Housing Accelerator Fund, which now covers the majority of the project's costs at about $2.25 million in budget. As a result, continued application of the bylaw would impose redundant and unnecessary charges on the new development. Repealing the bylaw also aligns with municipal policy, with updated funding commitments and supports growth and housing objectives in the Park Hill area. So just a couple key highlights I'll note here. This bylaw was originally passed in July of 2024 and was set to recover approximately $2.25 million of capital costs, like I mentioned, that would pay for the Park Hill Lagoon desludging project. And there were fees set in the back of the bylaw that were established for various development types that included single-family homes, townhouses, apartments, etc. Since adoption, the municipality, like I mentioned, has secured approximately $1.75 million in external funding that is now going towards the lagoon desludging project. Bit of financial context, which again you'll find in my report, is that the estimated total cost for the desludging project is just shy of $2.25 million, which includes the additional $100,000 that council approved this year in contingency just for additional desludging works that were completed. And again, we're receiving about $1.75 million from half over a 4-year period. So we'll be roughly a shortfall of 475,000 between the 1.75 to the 2.25. But it is worth again noting that we've already paid for half of the project last year, which was just from the water and wastewater reserves. It's also worth noting that between staff's records and Middlesex Center's records, we've only collected about $15,000 worth of this charge in building permits to date. So again, it's also staff's recommendation that should council choose to repeal the bylaw, we reimburse the folks who have paid this so far in the tune of roughly $15,000. So the recommendations before council this evening on this report are as follows: that council receives report DIO 68 of 2025 regarding the repeal of bylaw numbers 64 of 2024, Park Hill wastewater sludge removal charge for information, and that council repeal bylaw number 64 2024 as costs have been largely funded through external sources and the fee structure is due for renewal, and that council approve reimbursement of fees collected under bylaw number 64 of 2024 to the appropriate parties. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thanks, Sam. Questions from council on this? No questions, no comments? All right, so we have a recommendation in front of us. Moved by Councilor Daigle, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hodges. All in favor? Carried. I would remind again, I'm hoping that we can in the future put our recommended motions on the screen so that the public can see those, so they know exactly what we're motioning on. Hoping we can get that done. So Sam, the next one is yours once again. Report from Director of Infrastructure on the Operators Appreciation Day.
Thank you, Your Worship, and to you and the members of council. Before you this evening is report DIO 72 of 2025, which recommends that council formally proclaim October 23rd of each year as Water, Wastewater, and Stormwater Operator Appreciation Day. For those of you that are not aware, I serve on the board of directors for the Ontario Municipal Water Association, and this is an initiative that we've been working on for quite a while now in consultation with a lot of industry professionals and organizations, the province, and a lot of other folks. And I'm happy to bring this forward to council this evening for hopeful endorsement. This initiative recognizes the essential work performed by operators who ensure safe drinking water, protect public health through effective wastewater management, and safeguard local waterways and infrastructure through stormwater services. And the proposed proclamation aligns with the Ontario Municipal Water Association's province-wide initiative, which is that we're encouraging municipalities across Ontario to recognize the critical and often unseen contributions of these professionals and all the great work that they do. So the purpose and context of why we're bringing this forward and what we would like to do is that the proclamation would formally recognize that day as Operator Appreciation Day each year, which would just be a dedicated day that we would recognize these operators, in addition to obviously hopefully recognizing them every day, making sure that at least one day of the year we make sure we recognize them and all the great work that we do. And a bit more context that I'll bring forward. And what I would hopefully like to do again, of course, with council's support, is that should council choose to endorse this evening, at the next council meeting, what we'd like to do is formally bring these folks in and give them proper recognition at the 15th meeting. And then again, on the 23rd, we would, of course, celebrate, obviously, Operator Appreciation Day as it is. There are no financial implications for us doing this, as it's just staff working behind the scenes to do this. So I'll just note that for council as well. So the recommendations before council this evening on this are as follows: that council receives report DIO 72 of 2025 regarding Operator Appreciation Day for information, and that council hereby proclaims October 23rd of each year as Water, Wastewater, and Stormwater Operators Appreciation Day in recognition of the essential contributions of operators in ensuring the health, safety, and sustainability of our community. And further, that council encourages all residents to join in acknowledging and supporting the vital work of these professionals. And the last thing I'll mention, Your Worship, is that next week on October 9th, for anyone that might be interested, there is a conference in London at the Western Fairgrounds, and they're going to make a bit more of a formal announcement on it next week if anyone wants to tune in for that. But I just bring that up for information, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Okay, is there any questions for Sam on this? Councilor Nerda,
I'm gonna move that motion.
you're moving it? And the seconder is Councilor Daigle, is you second? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Thanks, Sam. Our next report is from Brandon Drew, and that is for Dr. Olmsted lease renewal. Sorry.
Mayor Rott, members of council, this report is just a lease renewal with our doctor in Park Hill, Dr. Olmsted. He's requested a 5-year lease. His lease did expire in June. We've just been working through what it looks like, and we've come to the terms here. So one of the two things that he's requested is that staff bring forward and budget flooring for the facility this year. There are some uneven spots and it's causing some patients some grief. So staff will bring that forward in their budget request. And then we will also bring forward fresh coat of paint for the facility. But other than that, he's quite happy to be in Park Hill, wants to be here long-term, looking at 5-year extension, 2% per year.
Excellent. Excellent. Questions for Brandon? Comments? No? Who's moving that? Counselor Nerda, Counselor Irwin, all in favor? Carried. That's good news to hear. Committee reports. Lake Huron Primary, I don't think we have any here for that. ABCA, Adrian, nothing. Blue Water Recycling, third quarter is there. Economic Development, Councilor Irwin.
Just a couple quick updates, your worship. The next meeting is Thursday, October 9th in Elsa Craig, and our planner Abby Heddle Jacob will join us to talk a bit about the official plan process. And I would like to take this moment to congratulate staff on the Agri Tour today. I was well attended. There was a lot of I think there was a lot of interest there. It was very informative for us who were in attendance. And I think it really did highlight what's happening in this part of the county.
All right, thank you. There was some people there from Belgium that came to see some things, and yeah, was it well attended?
They sat in front of me,
Yeah.
spoke French the whole time.
Well
Not
attended.
Flemish.
Okay. Any questions? No? A local school advisory? Go ahead.
No report on our meeting with the provincial supervisor, your worship, though. Again, at the Agri Tour, our MPP, Steve Pinsonneau was there, and I did have the opportunity to remind him that his staff said they would help set up a meeting, and he's following up on that.
Okay, thank you. Recreation Committee, there's some recommendations to consider. Councilor Nerda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, you can see that there are our approved minutes from our last meeting, and at our last meeting last week, we had some recommendations that came from the committee for council's consideration. The first one was that the Recreation Committee recommend to council to expand the license area at the HMS Insurance Center to include the stands. And the second one was that the Recreation Committee recommend to council that North Middlesex supports the implementation of a tug of war team at the East Williams Optimist Park.
A youth tug of war team, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, done? Questions, comments for that? So I would like a little bit of clarification on expanding the use, like for alcohol in the stands. When?
So
Like during what events?
through the mayor to the council, this will be open to anyone who uses our bar, but it will be subject to our approval. So if currently we have a group who utilizes our bar fairly frequently, the North Middlesex Stars, they've requested that during their games, they be allowed to utilize these stands. In order to expand our license, we do need a resolution from council to do that. And the other part of this is that they would need to show a security plan on how they're planning to control it. So subject to them providing us a plan of control and us being comfortable with it as staff, we would permit them to enter the stands. If things do not go well, and first or second time doing it, then we will revoke that and keep them to the goalposts. This just expands staff the ability to extend that should there be let's say other major events that come through as well, then we don't have to go through an application every time for special events to do that. We can expand our own license.
Okay. Okay, any questions on that? No? Can we consider both of these recommendations together, or do you want them separated? Together? Councilor Daigle. your motion to approve those? Second by Counselor Nerda, in favor? Carried. Is there anything else for the rec committee?
No, thank you.
Okay, policy review, we got? In 2 weeks? Okay, fire committee, anything? Community Development Fund Committee? Nothing there. Aqua, nothing there. The Middlesex County OPP Detachment Board, we have a recommended motion for us. We have to get this done to make it official. Moved by Counselor Nerda, seconded by Counselor Irwin. Oh, I'm chairing it. Do you want to second this? Okay, seconded by Counselor Irwin. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Oh, one opposed. Okay, correspondence, the Corporation of the City of Dryden, Water Safety Curriculum, and the Municipality of St. Charles, NORD's Pilot Program.
Actually, Mayor Rob, if I may, I do have to make a comment on the fire committee, if I may.
Yes.
There's an oversight on my part, but I think that once again, our firefighters displayed some very courageous and brave behavior the other day when they had to enter a well to recover the 15-year-old boy that fell in and was taken to the hospital. Tragically, the boy did not survive, but I thought our firemen should receive some recognition for that.
Absolutely. We'll just consider that under other business, but agreed. Is there any other business? Other business? Go ahead, Counselor Irwin.
Right. How are staff dealing with the upcoming postal strike issue? I did see something on
Ashley.
social media, but I'm wondering if we can have more detail.
Okay, Ashley.
Thank you, and through you. So staff have worked through various different ways to deal with the upcoming postal strike. Some of those being utilizing private services like courier, FedEx. What is the other one? Yes, Purolator. Thank you. And then we have upcoming deadlines being the water bills and other notices like planning and sometimes by law enforcement, where we're utilizing our online billing portals and as well as the e-billing. We're posting recommending that people watch our channels as well as being prepared to deliver door to door when necessary.
Okay, follow up.
Follow up, yes. And then we're going to be using our municipal signage to remind people. We do have water bills coming up shortly. Not everybody's on social media.
Go ahead.
Thank you, through you. I'm not aware if we are doing that, but I will report back and ensure that that gets posted.
Okay. Any other business?
Yeah, and then I have an announcement, Your Worship, because of the upcoming of the postal strike. There was an event planned for this Saturday by the developers, the builders, and by Radcliffe in terms of a community event at this Level Bluffs subdivision.
At the Parquet?
At the Parquet.
Yep.
From noon to 2, everyone's invited. It's a barbecue. There's activities for children there. They did attempt to deliver some material door to door. Some people got it, some didn't. And our staff did post it on our municipal signage as well, and it's gone out on social media. But they had planned to mail out invitations to everyone, and of course, the postal strike kind of kiboshed that effort.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other business? Counselor Nerda?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This question's for you, Sam. Can you get an update on when the road on Ardra Street in Maine is going to be repaired?
Go ahead, Sam.
Through your worship to the counselor, we actually just received word from the developer yesterday evening to reopen the road permit and look at paving. So the plan is that they want to pave within the next few weeks.
Thank you, Sam.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Daigle?
Just a question for the director. The information that everybody was to be sending in on their water meters, how well is that going?
Through your worship to the counselor, we received through both of the rounds just shy of 700 responses. So we have roughly just shy of 2,400 water users. So we're not at not even 50%, but we got about 700 responses. And I will just add that it will come through policy on the 15th and then to council shortly thereafter, but more information on that will be coming in the next month or so here.
And how do we know if you've got the information? Like if we emailed it in, was there any kind of response went back to the people that once it was shipped in?
Go ahead.
Through your worship, the counselor, staff were directed to respond or acknowledge their responses were received. So if you did not do that, then it's something I can certainly look into, but that was the direction that we had provided to notify folks when we got it, that we did receive it.
Okay. It is, I think it's important that we just, even if it's just received, you know. Any other business? Seeing none. Deferred items, communications, including county council. As you see a number of items there. Any questions there? Seeing none. The reading of the bylaws.
Thank you, and through you, so bylaws for first and second reading tonight being 078 of 2025 to and through 084 of 2025.
First and second. Councilor Nerda, Deputy Mayor Hodgins, all in favor? Carried. And third and final, Councilor Cornelison and Councilor Daigle, all in favor? Carried. Motion to adjourn?